So for the next part of this practice problem, we're going to walk you through some of changes to make a couple more web pages and set this up. We're going to do a simple example of keeping track of cooking recipes and logging it in. And what we're actually going to have you turn this in as your assignment this week. Usually we don't walk you through the whole process for turning in the assignment, but we're near the end of this course and we want you to start working on your final project. So I'm going to walk you through some of the steps for this. So hopefully this week you have time to work on your final project. And as I walk you through this, we'll also spend some time talking about the ideas for the final project. So we're going to make a website with a couple pages that you can only see if you log in. And we're going to actually work with recipes and storing recipes in those pages for different areas. But again, and we'll assume we won't do the database end, but we'll assume we could add a database with the recipes in it. And so when you went to those pages, you could see the databases. And this is pretty typical. You know, if I go on the internet, most sites, like even Amazon, although there are a lot of pages I can go to Amazon and look at things, if I'm going to actually buy something or save things to a wish list or stuff, I need to log in. So there are places where I have to sign in with Amazon. Similar, there are a lot of websites that are running on a database that just store user information and have a database for that. Twitter is an example, Facebook, all those websites. And again, there's an opening page here that I don't have to log in to get to, but right there it's going to want me to log in order to access my Twitter account or something like that. Even our local newspaper, the Duluth News Tribune here, again, a number of the articles, especially recent articles, are free, but then if I go back and look at some past articles, like here, some article about the Duluth schools and technology, if I want to read that, that's behind what we sometimes call a paywall, and so I have to actually create a login or a subscription to view that. So this is a pretty common paradigm out there. So we're going to create a couple web pages and a website for, let's do recipes. I've been doing some baking and cooking lately. So I'm going to make a couple secure pages. And I'm going to categorize the recipes as breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So again, under secured pages, I created web form 1. I'm going to rename that and change it to breakfast. I'm going to open it up here, and in the main content area, I'm just going to say the featured content breakfast. Here are the breakfast recipes. So I can imagine having a database of recipes or something like that I would display here and pull those in from the database. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to really focus on access to these pages and things like that. Okay, so that's my breakfast page. I'm going to add a couple more pages. So again, I'm going to do add new item, and I'm going to make sure I do web form with master pages, and I'm going to do a lunch, and it'll ask me what master page I want, and we only have one master page, site.master, for the whole site, and I'll have that, and this will be my lunch page. Okay, and let's do that one more time. I'm going to create a new item, web page form using master pages, and let's do a dinner. Page, yes. I'm typing breakfast in, yes. Too early in the morning, I guess. Okay, so this is dinner. These are the dinner. Okay. So I have my pages here and set, And they should all be secure because they are all stored in this folder with this web config file, and that web config file has a simple authorization where anonymous users with a question mark as their ID, are not allowed to access it. So anytime we redirect users to this page, .NET will force them to log in before displaying the page. So we're going to keep our default page here. I'm going to get rid of the About page. I'm just going to delete that. And I'm going to delete the Contacts page for now. So I'll just have my default page and then these pages. So now I'm also, let's just run this real quick, see how it looks. And so I want to change the menu to list breakfast, lunch, and dinner on the menu, and that's stored on our site master page, as we'll see in just a sec. So is our page here, and some things on the main page. I want to just change this to maybe say welcome to recipes or something like that. I want to change this heading to say something about the recipe page. And then again, here's my menus, and these pages I've actually deleted, so if I click on that I'll get an error because those pages aren't there. And then again, I want to replace them with links to page 1, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And so this page actually is going to go to the breakfast page, but is stopping here to log in first. So I'm going to change these menus, and so all of this stuff, well, some of this default stuff is in the default page, this and this, but this and these are in the site master page. So let's do some changes there. So stop this. So let's first look at the default page. In this page, I can edit this text, not that text. So I can just edit welcome to Tom's recipes. Are you hungry? I probably shouldn't be making examples when I'm hungry. Okay, so I've got those things I can change in the default page, but these other parts, remember, are in the master page. So I'm going to have to go to the site.master page here to make some changes here. So let's type in recipes here. And then let's change our menu here. And again, you can change this menu here. I find it easier just to change it in the code as we go. So I'm just going to switch over to the source code here. And there's our tags and our about. So I just want to change this to breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I'm going to then put in our web address here for each web page. So I've changed my menus, again doing some straight HTML editing here. So changing these anchors, pointing to breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And like I said, I did this in source, but again, if you don't know HTML very well, you can actually do this all in the designer. You can just click on breakfast. You want to make sure you have the anchor selected. You might have to click on the anchor tag, or if you just double click on breakfast until that whole tag is selected. Then down here in properties will be the tag information. And so you can change the href, that's the reference. In fact, if you just bring up the menu, it'll just have the pages there, and you can select the one you want out of the secure pages folder. And then you can just change the text here too. So again, you can decide if you want to edit it in the designer or with the source. So let's try this out. So here's our home page coming up. I can click on breakfast and it forces me to log in if I click on any of those. So I think I still have user 1 created here with password as the password. Let's see if that will work. And I can go to lunch and dinner and see these other things are back home. So now once I've logged in, I have access to all these pages. It keeps me logged in for once. And then if I log out and I go back to these pages, it'll force me to log in. So that wraps up this. I'm just going to quickly go over a couple other things that we're not going to really cover much. One is external services. There is the ability to use things like Facebook logins and exterior logins, Google logins within these websites and interface with that. But again, we're not going to cover those things. There's also the ability to do some editing of your logins and profiles if you go to project and ASP.NET configuration, and if you already have your database set up for this, you should be able to go like to security, and you should be able to create users, manage users. You should also be able to create roles, and we haven't really talked about roles, but then you can assign rules to roles and things like that. So you could have a customer role and a administrator role or things like that. But you can actually create your users or manage users with this interface. And there's also some things you can do as far as the application goes and configuring that. But mainly we've used it for the security stuff. And the textbook walks you through this, so I just thought I'd mention it. There's also a command line interface for creating databases for the security stuff. So it's challenging to sometimes find and run this command line program. It's usually on your C drive in Windows. There should be a Microsoft.NET folder here, and you should be able to click on one of the frameworks. And again, there are different versions of Microsoft, and generally you can click on the highest version. And then there should be an ASP.NET request. Let's see, yeah, ASP.NET _ reg sql.exe. That will walk you through the process of creating an SQL database to manage your database configuration. So you can go through and set up this. You do need to configure what database you're doing, what server you're running on. So if I go back to SQL Server Explorer here and open this up, I'm missing my database. Let me add my database back in my other one. Okay. What it generally creates is a copy of a database for security called ASP.NET.Security. And in fact, I have a number of other databases for different projects that have been created and stored here. But again, I just want the name of this database file here. And if I write or use this local db.v11, or again, depending on which one you have, you can do that. You can type that into the server here and look up a database. And again, there are a number of things that can walk you through configuring, but my experience is that setting up your own network security is challenging for beginning users. It's even challenging for advanced users. And so I recommend doing what we did, is just start with a project that creates all this stuff for you, creates the database for you automatically, and sets up this. You can always go in and then modify or change the login pages, but setting up and configuring all this database stuff is challenging, and it's just so much easier to have the wizard create all this stuff for you for this. So again, for the final project, we just want this basic working website with breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and 3 pages that are secure and the home page that's not. And then we'll want you to start thinking of ideas for this for the final project. More details on that will be posted, of course, in the final project description.